All right, big hey now to everybody out there. Woo. It's a Saturday, and today is a T-Share Saturday. I'm gonna do a T-Share report. I know I've mentioned a couple times I was going to do one. I haven't done it, but let's first check and see if we have a good sound. Tam, I see out there. Fast Abdul. Will you guys just let me know you can hear me okay? We'll go ahead and jump in. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I got these weird snow. I guess I have to get more and new equipment. So let's see. Nobody's saying they can't hear me. Oh, NJ Dub, man, Mister Prove Fire, not happening. Not happening. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm still trying to get my head around what Mr. Prove is. I don't even know. I thought it was Mr. Joke at first, but but no, apparently not. So yeah, new sacrifice coming. Whatever. I know. I don't know, man. I'm going to focus on something I can talk about. We're going to go talk about the HEX T-shares and the T-share report. And, specifically, is HEX dead? I think guys, we're challenged. We're challenged. Majority of people would say it is dead, D-E-D, dead. So let's go take a look at some stuff. I don't think it's dead. I think it's an opportunity, but you know how that goes, right? All right. So just take a look at HEX daily stats just for a moment and see what this looks like. Most importantly, what I want to look at is the T-share rate here, both on Ethereum and on Pulse Chain. And so Ethereum, we're still running a little bit higher, according to this 43,446 on the Ethereum side. Not unexpected. T-share rate goes up a little bit higher there. On the Pulse Chain side, 43,059 it looks like, or 99. On my screen, it's a little smaller. Let me look and see what it says. 43,099. How about that? All right. Then taking a look at the old T-shares and what we've been seeing. What we've been seeing for look aheads and all the rest. Yeah, we're coming up on some potential increases every year around November. There's a little bit of front running on the anniversary of HEX. We're coming up this 6-year anniversary. That's crazy. And there was always a little bit of front running where people wanted to have something to talk about around Thanksgiving. So you've got T-shares, T-shares coming out, stakes coming around that time. And because we have them coming out around that time, that's when we see nice increases. So we could see, I say could, because whoever owns those stakes has to end them for the T-share rate to go up, right? That's the only time it happens. Somebody has to end the stake, and only the person who owns the stake can actually end it. And if they were to end these stakes that would make the change, it would bump it right up to 45K. Looks like so pretty significant increase from where we are today. Now, what would happen? I mentioned that somebody would have to end, right? So what would happen if they don't end? And my numbers might be wrong. So if somebody else has a better number, let me know. But if they didn't end, the next stake that ends, it has the next highest T-share rate would be the one that it would come up to. And eventually what we do is we would see this 45K get realized somewhere. There would be some stake somewhere in this period of time that'll bring it up to 45K. So it just might be flat for a couple days if for some reason these specific stakes that should be ending don't end. All right. So our 30-day look ahead's got us up at that 45 level. We go out to 60 days. I think we're seeing it all the way towards the end of the year, really flattened out here. Now, I don't expect this to be the final shape of the chart. I think what we'll see again is that somebody will come in and do a little short staking in here, and when they do the little bit of short staking, that short staking will increase the rate, so it won't be at 45K by the end of that 60 days. It'll be some number higher, but it'll be small increments, little tiny increments up above that, rising towards whatever the next level is. So that's what I would say. Thank you, Tam. Bruce Lee. HEX chart looks a lot like Zcash chart right now. Yeah, I've been hearing people talk about Zcash last couple days, last day, making comparisons. Anything can happen with crypto, right? So I say anything, almost anything can happen, right? So if there's enough buy pressure versus sell pressure, of course it can go up in price, right? And as you're saying, wiped out on that chart, they wiped out 4 years downtrend in 4 weeks. Yeah, could happen. Could happen. But no promises, right? Can't make that promise. But I'd like to see it happen. So I'll give you my vote. I'd like to see it happen. All right. Going out to 90 days, you can still see a very flat period here in my 90-day calculations. Going out to 120 days, still flat. So we're into 26, and let's see if maybe there's something wrong with my data. Let's go to the 27. No, we just have this very very long flat period where what's happened is we have all these stakes that were made historically, and it just so happens that the one that's supposed to be coming out here in November is just like a monster increase, right? And so all these other stakes, they can't get any better than that. And the new stakes, they're only getting what? Let's go look real quick on the stats. They're getting 1.5526 hex per T-share, so they just can't compete. And so when we look at the chart, we're getting this big increase that's going to take place, but it's driven by past rewards, not driven by current rewards. And so unfortunately for those people who did not and were not interested in staking, right, they're suddenly, if they ever decide to do it in the future, they're going to pay a lot more, right, in the form of HEX. But you know what? Those people that I'm talking to, if you're listening to that and that means anything to you, you're probably already staking. You're probably already staking. It's and so the people that aren't listening, they don't care. So it's like kind of a moot point. I mean, we just know that this is the case. I mean, we're gonna have a moment where suddenly the share rate's going to go up, very quickly, a couple thousand, right? And then boom, then it'll continue its ride upwards into the right, and so probably 45 by the end of the year ish, probably a little bit higher than that, both chains. And the next year, probably close to 50K. The year after, about 55K. The rates come down a little bit with the OA doing the staking that it did. So we see that. We go to our all models chart. We can still see way out in 41, and now we're getting T-shares out in 41 now. This is blank at the moment. Hold on, see if it comes up for you guys. Okay, we're still out at somewhere between 75,000, 80,000, out 15 years. So that hasn't changed a whole lot. Hey, Belgian, good to see you, buddy. Haven't seen you for a long time. I haven't done these specific streams for a while. Let's say Kojin. Yeah, Kojin, I've heard this before too. We need all excessive inflation to get out. Almost impossible to do it. HexOG's got too much of it. What's your opinion on the subject and using the data you have? I think it's always been true that whoever got in early and committed heavily gets more reward. That's how the thing works. That's how it's supposed to work. So for the existing previous stakers, yeah, they're going to benefit for a long time if they had a ladder set up, and that's just going to continue. They'll benefit from that. And then future stakers is kind of a different class of sorts, because as you're staking today, what you're doing is you're getting, when you're staking, you're getting basically competitive rates to treasury bonds. and with the exposure to price appreciation. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's how it goes. That's how it works. It's hard. It's people aren't staking though, right? So that just makes it better for the people who do stake. So I say people aren't. We're not getting a lot of staking, and so the people, the people who are interested in this protocol in HEX, they're accumulating a lot of units and putting them out really far in the future. And some of them are doing it with native stakes. Some of them are doing with HSIs, the HEX staking instances. I've talked a lot about Actuator because I do like Actuator, and the idea that, some people they're doing Quattro-Cinco stakes and they're able to have access immediately to 50% of their liquidity and do something with it and LP it and farm it and that type of stuff. So it's just a thing, that it's just how this is working out. It's kind of crazy. I feel like I'm I know I'm not. I said this to somebody today. I mean, the people who come here and comment, they're interested in HEX too. But often I feel like I'm the only one interested anymore. You know, um, Johnny's saying, hey, they don't have any of the HEX. They're staked, which means it isn't even HEX. True, John. There are stakes rolling out, as you know. But yes, I mean it's not like all that HEX at stake can get out. And if they emerge the end stake, it kind of like spreads that out into the system as we know. And the only way to have any coin the OGs don't own more than you is to go make it yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And just in HEX in general. Bruce Lee saying USD prices are much lower to buy your HEX is a plus for late guys now. I know, dude. I mean, again, not financial advice, but it's pretty cheap. It's under a penny. It gets, I'm getting people telling me I'll never go over a penny again. That's possible, I guess. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. But I mean, I've always been looking at it from passive income perspective, and so I'm willing to. I don't want less X's, but I can see I can see at least one scenario with less X's are okay too. And then just stacking the T-shares just creates this opportunity for the income in HEX. I would have liked. I did mention to Richard when he was posted a couple of weeks ago, and somebody mentioned it back to me that I had done this. I'd asked him about HEX staking, and he basically gave me a non-answer. Would have liked to see him talk about HEX a little bit, but here's the thing: is there's nothing really to talk about with HEX. HEX is finished product. It's going to continue to work. I mean, yes, I would like the founder to talk about it, but it doesn't have to. Just going to keep doing what it does, and we're either going to participate or we're not going to participate. It's either going to live or die on its own. It has, at this point with the OA being all in staking wise, I don't. What's the OA going to do? What's the founder going to do at this point? So I do think, Bruce, and this guy went off a little bit of triad there, tirade. USD price is much lower. Yeah. So this is the time you got to believe in some things, right? And so I'm not telling you what to believe, but if you believe in Pulse Chain and you believe in HEX, right? I'm assuming you already believe in crypto and you believe that HEX has a future, then the thing to do is get as many units as you possibly can now. That would be the thing, right? Because I can tell you that when it was at 50 cents, I sure wished that I had a billion, with a BNB. B as in a billion. I really wish I had a billion, but I didn't have a billion. It would have been a lot to get a billion anyways, but you get my point, right? 50 cents, I really wish I had a lot more. And so one of the ways you can do that is kind of calculate to all-time high. No promises. Don't know if it's going to all-time high this year. Don't know if it's going to go in 4 years or whatever. But if you believe it's going to go to all-time high, one of the things you can do is figure out what's a lot to you. And is a 50x enough? Is that a lot? Yeah, is your minimum investment $500 and 25 grand's okay? I don't know. Whatever people want to do, you just can do the math on it and kind of figure out what you want to do with DeFi. But yeah, getting the units early is a lot better. Never forget, right, the way that value changes hands, right? Let's see. Yeah, and I concur. It isn't. You're not late right now. It's still pretty early. Yeah, free market at work. Johnny Chaos is saying something else. I missed you, Johnny. I'm sorry about that. I got to get back to the Belgian Mexican here. All right. If they sell when it ends and they don't get less than 1/4 of the T-shares back, where does the HEX come from to get the T-shares back? If they sell when it ends, and they don't get, I guess I don't quite understand your question, Johnny. Maybe I'm tired. I'm tired. We do know that the T-share rate goes up, and so they can't even get their T-shares back, period, in the first place. And based on what I'm seeing, they're being drawn down. The T-shares are being drawn down pretty hard. Belgian, yeah. Belgian's talking about, or get some Deci or Maxi with discounts, with some time with the old rewards. I think for those who are in the know, Belgian, that is an okay solution. It's not sustainable though. And what I mean by that is at some point, Maxi and Deci get bought up to premium. Let me go look at my alerts section. I've been alerting on what it is. So right now, there's not a lot of liquidity, right, with Deci or Maxi, and that's by design. If I had Maxi or Deci, I don't want to provide liquidity either, right? Because I want to hold on to those tokens. But with a Maxi, I'm estimating that Maxi is going to pay 3.05 hex on the payout, which means it will earn something like 16.5% APR until 2037, which is pretty good, right? And then the Deci's are earning 30% APR right now, with an estimated payout of 2.37 going into 2032. And so if you're interested in these packaged HEX products, you could go swap for those, but the liquidity is low, right? So I mean, it's not like there's a ton out there. And so, there's probably more than this if you start including the PHUX pools. Maybe the Tide pools have more, but on the V2s, I'm just showing $3,000-4,000 in liquidity, which means that you end up changing that premium pretty quick. And once you bring it up, then it's not sustainable for everybody else. But it's a good deal for somebody who wants to get in right now. Just be really careful with your trading if you're going to go trade for that. HEX Farmer. Yes, T-shares are the way. Yes, HEX Farmer. Yes, HEX Farmer. You know this T-share rate keeps going up. It's going to keep going up. And, in the future, too. Right now, I show it flattening out at the end. But it's going to go up. It'll go up. It'll just be at a different rate. It's just how it's depicted. I do have some new stuff, Johnny, I want to talk about, too. Okay, Johnny says it's a defeatist attitude. Oh, they have too much. Yeah, I know. I hear that a lot too. But they're the ones that bootstrap the system. They put their value in. So I mean, from that perspective, I'm like heading over here on the screen. From that perspective, the early guys, that's the reward for staking and believing, right? And so people say, well, they shouldn't have done that. Okay, well, that's how it worked, right? Go buy more or don't play at all. Yeah, I see a lot of people opting out. And then, well, I think your point is at the end here is you don't get your T-shirts back. Nobody gets their T-shirts back. Nobody gets them back. It is so hard to get your T-shirts back now. And it's so crazy. You can get some back. And that's what I'll show you here in a minute. I mean, now, I'm an old guy, but you young guys and ladies, you could be, you could be thinking you're going to be around and trading and being involved in crypto in 2040, right? 2041. What a deal! Is a freaking deal. I mean, I'll show you what's going on over there here in a minute. I mean, what could possibly happen? Yep, T-shares are 4 to 5 times higher now. Johnny's saying, And let's see, and I see BTFD out there. I know what that means. Buy the dip. No, there's Hex Farmer you're messing with. There's no Dow. There's no Dow. You can't lower the T-share. T-share never goes down. T-share rate never goes down, and it's just because it's a mathematical process. Yeah, and then Johnny was saying that the payouts will only go up, and that's true. And that's an important note because as you a lot of people think when you first get in, if you see like APR, let's say your stake, some number, of days is a 4% APR. Well, at this point, T-shares are really unlikely to ever go up, but payouts going up every day. So T-shares are very likely to go down. So if the payout's going up and the T-shares are going down, the payout per T-share goes up, so your APR goes up. But the thing is it's such a smidgen, it's so small that unless you really like numbers, you're like, I don't even see a difference, right? It's such a small number. All right, so let's go look and see here. Let's go share a couple things. I'm going to go to our hex terms. Let's see if this works. I didn't preload this one. Let me go see what we got here. Should pull up here. It's getting to the data. A little bit slow. That's why it's blank. I should have preloaded this one. I didn't plan to really talk about it, but I wanted to see what the number of T-shares being restaked have been. So I may have to wait and come back for this. All right. Oh, there it is. There it is. All right. So this is just looking at the stakes that have been ending. Let's go ahead and I'll put them in order by end date so we can kind of look, just to kind of give you guys a visual. And then I'll highlight one and it'll show up on the bottom of the screen here. Probably should have filtered the hell out of this. That would have been better. But this is fairly recent, this one. So let's see if this one comes up. Here's a good example. All right. So this table may change on us, and I'll have some better information here. But looking here at the bottom, we had this particular stake that was 1.2 million staked. They got 276 T-shares. In order to get the same amount of T-shares, they either have to increase the hex or restake all of the principal and all the rewards for another 2,156 days. Right, so you have to restake it for the same amount of time, and you can go do the calculations on that. I mean, that's pretty big deal, right? Like, that you're gonna have to either do that or you got to put you have to put more hex in, to get the same number of T-shares. I don't even know if these numbers are right. I better come back to this later because I'm not certain that that's the case. I really want to go look at this. Let's do the drawdown on Pulse Chain. And we're going to say this is the 8th, right? Okay, so let's make sure this is selecting correctly. Boom. All right, so I'm looking at Pulse Chain, roughly the last month. I guess if I go to the 8th, it'd be better, but it's limiting me on the number of days. But so in this period of time, just over the last month, we had 88,000 T-shares started and 122,000 ended. And so we lost 33,000 T-shares, right? So that gives us kind of a drawdown. It's just a point in time, but it gives us a drawdown of like 27%. So three out of, possibly 3 out of, every 10 T-shares that end just go poof and disappear. So that kind of thing is what we're seeing going on. And so we're not seeing a lot of people, do their do the restaking. Just not happening. All right. We got that going on. Let's see here. We get back over this thing. That's why I say it's really HEX is for believers now. Let's look at our T-shares expiring. No, I wouldn't do that. T-share count. We can kind of see this just coming down. This shows the entire chart from 2019, so we can see when the OA did the staking over here. We pushed our T-shares way up, and now we're just slowly coming down. And so if we go to what 4/1/2025 and just kind of look at it that way. All right, this is what you can see with the T-shares. See how they're just coming down? Day over day, blah, 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 blah. So that's to be expected. Number of T-shares are going to be coming down, right? And that's just normal. The curve's kind of the same on both. I mean, there's probably slightly different, but of course we have fewer T-shares on the HEX side. For all you HEX lovers out there, you'll see all that HEX T-shares coming down. But let's look at the HEX T-shares, just looking into the future. All right, we can see this drawdown. Now, this is what I want to really bring everybody's attention to. So we got the, roughly the 43 million or so T-shares in existence today, and how this curve is coming down, right? And so the OA has really superimposed itself onto onto this graph, right? And that's because it's got it's got all these T-shares. There's some seeded in between, but it's got this Quattro Cinco out here in 2040. And so the real thing this isn't for the people who just want to do whatever. This is for the believers. Let's see, which way I could just do a circle. How about that? So what I wanted to do is kind of like, that's a terrible circle. I guess I'm not much for artwork. Let me go to pen, color. We'll go to color. How's that? All right. So right here, 2041. You guys see this? This big, huge gap here. That huge gap. Look at that. So we're falling off a cliff in 2040. Why? Because that's when all these T-shares end right here. And then we go down to almost nothing in terms of T-shares. In fact, I would be surprised if that isn't a 98, 99% drop in the number of T-shares. Okay. You can also see, how flat the number of T-shares. Basically, so there's opportunity here for the right people, for the people who are interested in the HEX. You can also see in this area over here, towards the bottom, this huge little flat spot over here, down here, right? And nobody's staked out here, right? There's very little stakers, right? I mean, we're talking 80,000 T-shares, 37,000 T-shares, 37, 36 got a lot. The HSIs from Hedron really helped pump that up, plus 36 and 37. We're kind of roughly 15 years out from 21. When we hit the top last bull run. So you had people doing the staking, but then it just fell off a cliff anyways, right? And so there's virtually anybody doing any staking out here. If you're doing it while the OA is staking, you are, of course, not competing with the OA because the OA is so big. But compared to any other players out there ain't a lot of players, right? So whatever T-shares you have, you're earning percentage-wise greater amount in relative to other players. And then when you get into 2040, forget about it, man. After you get past the OA, man, we're getting like 1,500, 1,700 T-shares a month. All right. And the implication is, I don't know what will happen in the future. I think obviously people will, be staking. And so the T-share count will go up, but it's got to go up. The demand for T-shares has got to go up pretty significantly to prevent as steep of a drop as we have. Like if my calc shows that if people continue to stake the way they've been staking for the next 15 years, which is impossible, that's not how it's going to happen. It's going to go up or it's going to go low. But just to give you an idea, if they did exactly what they've been doing, we will see, T-shares drop, 98% overnight. Somebody will get a count the OA stake. So that's pretty big change. So I'm thinking one or two things are going to happen. Either the OA is going to step in and do something later, or the market's going to step in and do something, because if HEX is alive and well running up into 2040, and then suddenly, all the people who have T-shares are going to share all of the reward because there's no OA, the market's got to react to that, right? But the thing is, they may not react to that for 3 years, 4 years, right? So in the meantime, people who are willing and interested in the risk and the reward, they're going to be staking out in 2041, and that, and 42 and 43 or whatever, and that goes for both chains, right? So I don't think I reset this one. Let's look and see what HEX. Yeah, I did reset it. It looks very similar, in terms of the drawdown and the number of T-shares. And just in general, looking at Quattro Cincos that are starting. That's why I keep talking about, from my perspective, if you already have a ladder in place, and particularly with the HSIs now, and I know that isn't favored by everybody. Boy, my background's really getting weird. Maybe I should just make snow my background, and it'll be good. Here's the thing is, you could be doing HSIs and always do Quattro Cincos, right? It's immutable. The creation's immutable. And if you do an HSI, and I was never like a heavy fan, like that is the only way to stake. I wanted to stay very natural, native staking. But I really can't argue at this point this idea that, the HSI is, there's a market now where you can take the HSIs and do something with them before the 15 years is up. And you can move them around and you can market them, and people might get pissed that I say that, but it's hard being here waiting the full 15. But that doesn't mean if you're doing native staking, it's not a good idea either. You could do that. But anyways, my point is, like in October, we had, let's see, 820 T-shares created, Quattro Cinco. November so far, it's only 8 days in, a couple hundred. Staking's just been coming, it's been pretty lackluster. There's a few diehards out here that are continuing to build their ladder. You're getting about 100 wallets a month that continue to do it, and so you see that. We can take a look at stakes by start. We did have 60,000 T-shares get created in October on Pulse Chain, but that, those are short stakes too. So, and the ones that get recycled are getting in there too. So sometimes people are doing 7 days and they'll do 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. A lot of different things. We take a look at our payouts per T-share and how that goes. So you can see the estimated count of the T-shares and how we'll be dropping down, 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 down. I don't even have it going down to zero, but you can see it coming down. This is my estimate, is assuming something like that 25 to 30% drawdown that we saw, but that doesn't account for the OA. So I don't know what the OA is going to do. So what do I mean by that? These numbers are just simply, hey, how many T-shares are ending? I'm making an assumption that, 80%, 70, 80% of them are being restaked. And so therefore the number comes down slow. So it's cushioned, right? This could look a lot more jagged. or a lot smoother too. Who knows? But the big thing is going to be whether the OA actually does the restaking or not. Whether other users do the restaking, create more T-shares. But you can see how that curve comes down, and then or the number comes down, and then the payouts over here, you can see them come up to somewhat close to double where we are today. Let's see what this looks like. This is going out to the 23rd of January 2041, where we see it, at 3.36 hex per T-share. So just again, this idea that it's going to go up into the right over time. It looks pretty pitiful, right, against all these other numbers. But let's do that. I think this will work for us, right? There we go. And now it looks impressive, right? We see a rise coming up. I guess I could put this year on. You see, it looks a little more impressive. Boop, 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 and a big jump up, and then we'll see where it goes after that. And again, because your part of the pie is getting bigger relative to everybody else, your APR actually goes up. It kind of floats up and to the right. All right. Let's see. Average stake length for open stakes, pretty solid straight line here. Bloop, bloop, going across. Bloop, 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 bloop. 9.1 on the ETH side, 9.2 on the Pulse chain side. Not unexpected. It's not going to change much, right? Because these long stakes are the way this is calculated. It's based on open stakes, and so which stakes are open? The long ones mostly, right? So once you have a number, it's kind of hard for that to change. But I would expect this is going to start floating over time towards Quattro Cinco. We could come up with some different ways to really measure it, but I think that's what you're going to see is I think people are going to conclude that the only stake to make is a Quattro Cinco at some point. Again, particularly with the HSI situation and the idea that you can use actuator.finance. Average stake length of creations. Hex is, Ethereum side has been coming up a little bit in recent time frame. Same, a little bit of a trend on the Pulse chain side coming up, but nothing really big and different here. 3.6 years on Pulse chain and 4.1 years on the Ethereum side. So just give you an idea of what people are doing when they're staking. So we still got a lot of short stakers. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of value in trying to dig deep into that stuff. But you're aware of what's going on and what's happening with Hex. So I don't think Hex is dead. Obviously I'm here, so HEX staking isn't over. But other than the people who come and watch this stream, I don't know how many, I'm seeing, like I said, I'm only seeing 1,000, but I'm only seeing about 100 wallets do Quattro Cincos a month. So a very small number. And then I'll get to questions here in the chat in a moment. And then one last thing, this really kind of tells the tale for me. Okay. So first off, this is a log chart, LOG log chart. Why is that important? I had to put it on log because with this big, see how this April stack is so big here? All right, it's 16 million T-shares. 16 million T-shares. See how it's big there? If I don't have it on log, these other stacks just disappear. They just disappear. And so why am I showing you guys this? So this is for my peeps out there who really do believe in HEX long term. They're willing to take the asymmetrical bet. Right? They're going to gamble, right? That HEX is going to be really good in the future. I wish I could make this thing go away. I think there is a setting to make it go. can I turn it off? Yeah, okay. All right. So here we are. So we've got the 16 million, right? Well, there's a day in April of 2040 where that potentially goes away. In that future state, if this is the case, right? What remains? Only these T-shirts, right? In the that get made, that already are made or get made in the future. They're still open. These are the only T-shirts that'll exist in the future. All right. And so right now, of course, we don't have a complete, 15-year future listed. But what I was getting at before about this is that, we're seeing like 1.7, you can call it 2,000 per month, right? Something like 2,000, T-shares per month are being created. So that's 24,000 a year, right? So if that remained the rate, and just like back of the envelope math, if that remained the rate for 15 years, right, we would have the OA T-shares, 16 million, and 360,000 other T-shares that are out here. So there's this opportunity that right now the T-shares don't exist, right? And so because they don't exist, people haven't gotten this really great rate on the T-share rate, because remember, it's going to be higher in the future if somebody decides to do it. And so we're just getting these, almost 2K, 1.4, 1.35, 1,000. Last month it was 1.3. Month before that 2.6. And so you can get like a huge amount of relative T-shares in the future right now, because nobody else is playing out there. They're not playing. I thought I had my league here. Do I have my league? Oh, let me see. Yeah. Here, let's go to this. All right, let's look at the leagues. This is how different this looks, guys. Right? This is a long time since we've seen this chart, but it's just showing based on leagues, what you needed to be a Poseidon right now, in each one of these years. So how many T-shares you would need. Look at 2041. This is how, because it's only the first month is getting loaded right now for 2041. There's only there's only 500 T-shares or so out there, right? So somebody who goes out into 2041 right now, 56.75 T-shares makes you Poseidon, right? And just the year before, because the OA had so much staked, right? And this is by year, so we're not defining it all the way down to month. You needed 1.6 million, right? And then right after April, whatever date, when that ends, boom, it just goes down. You just don't, you just don't need anything to really win hard with HEX in the future. But it is a gamble, right? Because we don't know what's happening in 15 years, right? So that's the risk. That's the high risk reward, right? But there's just so few T-shares out there. So let me wrap that all the way up. Yeah, asymmetrical bet would be to do monthly Quattro Cinco HSIs of some small denomination, with the idea this is crypto and there's going to be some sort of insane potential gain, over time and price appreciation. That would be the game, right? Is to just start building this ladder Quattro Cinco and be one of the only few people doing it, and just getting like some sort of reasonable, amount of stuff out there. And it doesn't, and it actually, I mean, of course, more is always seems to be better with units, but it wouldn't have to be like a lot. You could do play money, like coffee money or something, and go out there. Let's see. Let's take a look and see what do we have over here. We talked about the Dow. All right, we left off with Johnny. Let's see what did Koshin have to say at Johnny Chaos. Of course, they won't get T-shirts. Yeah, a lot of pain. Yeah, just saying we're effed over at the moment, unless all dumpers are out at some point, or buys exceed sells or whatever. We're in this long. Yeah, we're in it long. I do think that somebody has mentioned this earlier in the stream. I do think there's opportunity for like really high price appreciation of HEX. But listen, it's going to be what it always is, right? Price is going to go up, and when in crypto, I mean, price is going to go up, and as price goes up, people are going to be like, should I sell? And some of them will sell, and people will ridicule the people that sell, and then meanwhile they'll be preaching, oh yeah, you guys got to stay forever. We're going to ride this to the top. We got 100 more X, and then the people in the middle are going to be like, well, I was going to sell, but this thing went up so fast, I think it can still go up, and then they won't sell. And so as long as they don't sell, that's why the price will continue to go up, because it's just that ratio. But then there'll be a time, probably psychological, right? But there'll be a time where it just gets to be so big that it's just stupid, right? And it's easy to say that now about SHIB and Doge and everything else, right? And even HEX. Easy to say it looking backwards. But with HEX, we'll probably see psychological levels. We get past the combined all-time high, 55-ish cents. That'd be a big tell, right? And if we go in that direction really, really fast, how many people are going to be like, "Nah, I'm waiting for $1," because everybody will be screaming it's going to go to $1, right? Because that'll be the next psychological level, and then we'll see if they're able to deflate the bubble, right? If they deflate the bubble by the time it gets to $1, then we're back into whatever is going to happen next. But yeah, I digress. I don't know. That's just how I view some of this stuff. Robbie saying ratio traders get their T-shirts back, but I admit it is certainly difficult. T-shares back. Yeah. Some of the ratio traders can. I've seen some good ones, but man, a lot of people just get chopped up because they, a lot of this information that we have available to us when we're using the dexes and stuff, then maybe this is where Mr. Prove will come in and help with some things too, as things move along. You just get chopped up. Like, people don't even realize that they're losing tens or hundreds of dollars when they do some of these swaps. They're just not paying attention. And so you could look at something on paper and think you're winning, but if you're not keeping track of it, you're losing. You just chop yourself up. That's another reason the HEX thing's so cool, right? Yeah, Johnny, I'm with you. We get to $1, boom, Yeah, and we may it may end up being board against stakers. Oh my God, staking's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. Well, I mean, what would it take at HEX at $1? How many T-shares does it take for minimum wage? Right, 400 T-shares, roughly. So if you have a ladder with 400 T-shares and you're getting 1.5 HEX per day per T-share, and that's worth $1. It's something around $600 US. I think that's about minimum wage ish. So yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, this was a sad awakening, Johnny. Everyone will eventually have to choose to keep shares or dump. They can't do both. Yeah, one of the things that makes me feel better about the whole HEX situation is that I know nobody else can keep their T-shares either. So the only way you can get more T-shirts by putting more value in. And that's why, again, you do see some people lean pretty heavy into things like Quattro Cinco, are doing 10 years or more. In my opinion, they do it for this reason, because you get more T-shirts, right? And so they want to lock it up more. Yeah, I agree with you. We definitely having a price problem in that people don't really value something because it's so tiny, in dollars, right? Yeah, and you're saying that the OA is not immune to the reduction in the amount of T-shares they get either if they go to restake. You're right. they have to pay the same thing. You know, I mean, T-share rate's the T-share rate. Army, good to see you there, Hexagon Army. Moonmut. All right, yeah, yeah, 30 of the people are here. I guess that's what you mean. Yeah, yeah. We joked about this a lot. You know, big fan of saying don't stake, stay out of my pool. I don't know if you remember um, back when I was talking about that concept, right? This idea that it's miners only, man. Like hex miners only. Like it's only going to be like a certain cult member-ish group of people that think this is valuable, and I can see it already. It's because it's hard to have the conversation with somebody who's chasing, you know, the next peahen, the peacock, the the vault, you name it, whatever, whatever tokens out there, and they're chasing this stuff. Now we're gonna have we're gonna have Mr. Prove. And they're going to see this thing going up 10x or whatever, 20x in a day, 1,000%, 10,000%, whatever's going to happen with this stuff. It's like, yeah, you should come over here and stake for 4%, and we're going to get price appreciation. And over the next 15 years, things are going to get better. And this is the special kind of people, and some of us would call us developmentally delayed, but you know, I got to say, for the people who really got in early on HEX to start with, worked out pretty well so far. I mean, you may not have 50 cents, but you got some pretty good stakes coming out, and which is the complaint, right, that we got in the beginning. It's like, you know, you took the risk and you got the reward, and now people are pissed that you got the reward because it messes up their ability to get the reward. So yeah, we're like Papa Boner. Stay out of my pool. Mike, good to see you, buddy. Danny boy, because I'm a hex staker, my opinions on proxies doesn't have much weight in my cryptist friends' minds. I've been reduced to an RH cult member. Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too. The people, I definitely feel like that meme at Thanksgiving dinner where they're like screaming up in the attic, "Hey, Crispy, come down and tell us about your hacks." Because nobody wants to hear about hacks. They're like, it's a big joke at this point, with other people. I mean, I know that it's real. I mean, I can see the real value behind it, and why do I say real value behind it? Because real dollar value is going back and forth, and there's real value being locked up, and people are extracting real money. So I mean, it's real, it's there. I know it's real, but at the same time, I got to recognize in the current environment how hard it is to get people to agree. Yeah, but that's what we were saying earlier. It goes. You have a sustained pump for 4 months, 3 months, and everybody's opinion will be different. Be like, why didn't I do this sooner? But it's always the same game. Johnny's saying only 7% of the 3.69% are going to stakers. Yeah, I don't have the percentage, but yeah, that's true, because the OA is absorbing it, just like they're absorbing most of the penalties. Right. That's why we talk about the OA staking. It's kind of like battle rigging. The HEX system was like nobody's messing with it, man. I mean, I guess they can mess with it by selling, but price wise, but nobody's screwing with it. It's in. I mean, it's locked in. So it's just going to continue. And maybe the OA could do some stuff like that you were talking about the pinata stuff, but I doubt it. But maybe. And Johnny, remember we were talking about the 50% mark, and maybe it has to do. Maybe it has to do with the who's actually staked in the price right now. But we haven't seen that capitulation we talked about. Remember, we were guessing like how many percentage of the big payday stakes would emerge the end stake because they're past the 50% now, or the ones that were scheduled for 29 and 30, they're still scheduled. We just haven't seen the capitulation. And so that makes me wonder a lot about how, those diamond hands. Um, and so I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, as you're saying, the big payday bonuses still up for forfeit. Everybody tries to cheat before then. Yep. They end up losing them. You lose them. You lose them, unfortunately. But that's how it's written. Hey, Randy, how are you? I hope you're enjoying the West Coast. I know that San Diego's got some good weather. Yeah, Lee, I mean, this isn't, the whole T-share topic doesn't get old for me either, but I'm obviously a T-share geek. Keep talking about it. Yeah, Farmer, I will double check on my league chart. I do believe that it includes the OA out there. And so just like eyeballing it, but I'll make sure. But I'm eyeballing it, and if 2040 1.6 million is 10%, and I think my numbers show, including the OA, that there's 16 million ish T-shares out there. Happy to change the numbers if they're wrong. You let me know, but I think that's the number, and so yeah, so that includes the OA, and it kind of brings up a big point. We went at the first 5 years of HEX. Let's see. So OA did stuff on Big Payday, which was in 20. So you could say 21, we didn't have the OA doing anything all the way through 25, roughly, having to do with like staking or anything like that. So we got 21, 22, 23, and then 24. So that was 4 years roughly in a few months that the OA didn't do anything with staking. So we got 4 years. And so now the question is, what will the OA do? And we know the OA did all the staking, right? And so I've said it before, we'll have to wait and see what the OA actually does when these stakes come up to end. See if they actually end them. I don't know if they're going to end them. I have no clue. Richard barely recognized HEX when I mentioned it to him, right? So other than say, hey, everything's all done, set, the code is there. So I don't know what the plans are, but whatever we see is what we'll have to deal with. And so with that being said, even though I see this huge deficit of T-shares out in 2041, maybe the plan is the OA is going to roll the sticks. I don't know. But if that is the case, Johnny had mentioned this earlier, right? The OA doesn't get today's rate. You get today's rate. So if the OA rolls, starts doing these rolls every year, you're getting a better rate than the OA will get as long as you're staking before the OA. So yeah, so we might have that kind of situation occur. Eddie's saying, do you guys think we're waiting for something that might not happen with HEX if it doesn't go to all-time high? It's a fail. Yeah, that's been a big question mark in my mind too. I think my thought is that it needs to go back and exceed all-time high to be widely considered a success. But that doesn't mean financially it wouldn't be a success for the people who staked. And it would depend on when they had come in, and it depends on exactly what happens with the market. But I would of course be quite disappointed, but I can't really control what's going to happen with HEX. I do think it's more likely that we exceed and head towards psychological levels at some point, because it'll be driven by who's willing to put money in to market and make the coin upwards, and how much are they willing to let other people take off the table to get the effect that they want, right? And so when that happens, psychological levels I'm talking about are like $1 would like be a big deal in people's minds, and so they might sell it off before then, right? But yeah, that isn't always the case. It isn't always the case that would happen. We've seen other psychological levels come and go. in Bitcoin and some of the other coins and tokens out there, because we thought they were going to be psychological. Hold on one second. These barking dogs here. We thought they were going to be psychological levels, and we weren't. It was going to be hard to get through them, and and everything was going to dump. Well, it didn't happen that way, and it didn't happen that way with HEX either, per se. It kind of sliced right through 10 cents, and that was a psychological level. There were some other numbers too you could pick up. All right, so what else we got here? 100% that the OA is dampening the potential of emergency end stakes at 5-year and 7.5-year mark. That's true. At least from the standpoint that if other people did the emergency end stakes, the penalties are going to the OA. They're not going to the market, right? So that's really cut back on that. Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. That's what I was saying price wise. Johnny's saying, hey, one of the reasons you might not see the people capitulating is prices so low. Yeah, because it's a few $100. It's like, might as well let it stay in and go. But some people have been emergency end staking. But it starts getting into real money, then people will be interested. And HEX Farmer saying stake bigger, longer, sooner, and repeat. And Johnny saying, well, we will know if it breaks all-time high in the next 4 years sometime. Yeah, we will. It can't be certain it'll go up, but just as evenly can't say it won't. I mean, it is crypto, guys, right? It is crypto. I mean, I watched HEX go from 1 penny and 1.5 to 50 cents. It did happen. And that went fast, man. That was 6 months. So yeah, I mean, it is crypto. It has to do with the, of course, supply and demand and what we do, as the users and, in general as a group. Yeah, Coach, you're asking whether or not Axis is going to be doing any streaming with me. I tried to get him on for this, but he was tied up. But yeah, we'll do something in the future, I'm sure. I mean, I know he's watching both EHEX and HEX pretty sharply as well, right? As well. All right. I don't think I have anything else really to go over on this stream, unless you guys got some question. And so then let's take a look real quick, just one last time. We'll look at our increases and what we're expecting. So yeah, I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see a big increase here as we go towards the end of the year. Flat spot, get us over the 45. 45,000 level, then up to 49,000 by the end of next year, and then so on and so forth. And we should just continue to see that happen. Yeah, Eddie, I got to tell you, I kind of expected the sacrificing, but meaning I expected there might be something like that coming. I don't know how I feel about it really. I mean, I'm pretty worn out and drawn out. So I mean, I didn't. I'm not really excited about throwing my HEX into something. So, but let's talk about what happened last time. Don't know that this is what'll happen this time, but last time with the Pulse chain SAC, we found out about it. I don't know, March, April timeframe. It didn't happen for 6 months. Okay, and so that gave. So for those who are really interested in getting the tokens that were going to be sacrificed and like playing the game, a bunch of people got HEX, for instance, and they were picking it up at 1.5 to 2 pennies, and then it went to 3 pennies, and then it went to 4 pennies, and went to 5 pennies, and there's some stuff around that. And then by the time we got to the SAC, it was 20 cents, right? So it went from 1.5 to 20 cents or so, and then dropped down to 12 during the sag, right? So what does that mean? Is that going to happen? I don't know if that's what will happen exactly, but I think that there will be some people who are going to be super interested in sacrificing. And oh yeah, Johnny says it was 32 cents. Yeah, I don't remember. I thought that was on the PulseX, but it could have been on the Pulse too. But regardless, there are going to be some people that will drive demand because they don't have the tokens, and they're going to be speculating on that roll up of the price going into the sacrifice. And so I think it could lead to some interesting, price effects. But again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Mr. Yeah, that would be the way to do it there. Hex Farmer, give Hex a bonus, right? That would be good. I saw somebody asking about that should only be cores that could be sacrificed, that type of thing. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, everything isn't the same, right? So they'd have to filter out something. TWAP's okay, but we got a lot of weird priced stuff. They're going to want to take something in that's not fungible and go with it. All right. Well, you folks, I'm going to go for a walk, get some fresh air. You guys do something similar, maybe get some fresh air. You stay crispy. We'll be back again with another T-Share report in the future. And we'll go from there. So thanks for joining me. Spread this around, hit the like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And we'll talk soon.
Yo, T, urgent HEX buy signal. Charts flaming hot.
Golden ratio, huh? That's how legends stack T-shares.
Get them while they're crispy, folks. This window won't stay open long.
Stake smart. Win big. Time rewards those who act.
Stay crispy, Hexicans.
You gotta move it, move it. Feel the rhythm of the blockchain.